Hello, welcome to Dimp Digital. This is our review of The Evil Within 2. Today you've got myself, Tom Adcock, not Adkins, and Joey Apps. How you doing, Joe?
Good, thanks, you.
Yeah, all right. Sort of nailed that. Second time.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Best
Not
intro
bad.
ever.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, get straight down to it, I guess. That's what you guys normally do, from what I've heard.
Yep.
So this is actually a game that I'm quite keen to hear your thoughts on, because if before I ask you what your cards on the table, my cards on the table is that I was super keen for Evil Within 1, really up for it. Shim McCumsey, or whatever his name is.
McCarmy, yeah.
Yeah, butchered that, but I was a big fan. Resident Evil maker.
He's the legend, isn't he?
He was the legend. He is the legend, I should say. Yeah, so I heard he was making a new Back to Bones survival horror game. I was all over it.
Yeah.
And I played it, and to be honest, it was probably the hype that got the best of me, but I was not a fan of that first one. So
No.
I've really not looked at anything about the second one. As soon as I heard it was announced, I was like, no interest. And to be honest, apart from having a brief chat with you, this is going to be my first knowledge on the game, really. So I'm really keen. So let's go for it then. So go on, cards on the table. Give me your history with the game.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'd played the original Evil Within, and not only had you said you weren't impressed, Adkins had said he wasn't impressed, and Salmon had also said he wasn't impressed either. So I had three people saying, look, it ain't worth playing through, basically. But I borrowed it off you, and I bought the DLC. I think it was like £5.
Oh, yeah.
It was something stupid, and I thought, you know what? I'm keen to get into the survival horror game. McCarmy, other reviews have rated it sort of on from 8s to 9s and things like that. I think it's getting a good critical response. Let's just dive in. And overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely quite rough. It felt rough in terms of its mechanics, like visuals, story, a little bit all over the place. Controls arguably not the smoothest, but then you could say that's part of the experience, which is people always say about the tank controls, so why not here? And overall I gave it a bronze rating, so sort of like a recommended game and something that I enjoyed and would recommend to others that were perhaps interested in that genre. And then we get the Evil Within 2, and as I said, I was interested in it, but I didn't pick it up until later on. It come as a Christmas gift, and I only started playing it sort of mid-January. So £20 UK is the sort of price you'll be paying these days. It is a single-player game only. One thing to note, that although it's developed by Tango Gameworks, McCarmy isn't actually directing this one. He just served as an executive producer and like a supervisor. And
Okay.
it's directed by a chap named John Johannes, who I hadn't heard of before, but it's not got McCarmy's hands completely all over it. He's just kind of taken a bit of a back seat. So you can feel that in the game, and as we talk about it, you'll see that you'll hear the differences that are between the two games.
Okay, all right. So story-wise, I mean, the first one, in my opinion, was a complete mess. I never really knew what was going on, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Sort of did come together a little bit in the last, half an hour or something.
Yeah,
but
and after 15 hours, you think, right, why is it taking 14 and a half hours to get to that?
Yeah.
to that.
I was struggling, and I was struggling with the character. So who do you play as? Does it carry on from the last story? Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, you're right to mention that one of the key criticisms perhaps was the story, and one of the things in particular was how, I guess, one-dimensional Sebastian was. Just like
He was shit, wasn't he?
Standard shit cop, like troubled family, got a drink problem.
Yeah.
They really didn't do a good job of like fleshing him out. And with it, even within 2, we're playing as him again. They get a new voice actor in who does probably a better job, but sometimes not very good. It's a little bit hit and miss. But what they do, which is what it needed really, after we discussed how complex the first story was, they strip everything back. They strip back the motivations as to why you're doing this and what the driving factor is. It's easily relatable, and some people might say, oh, but the nutty nature of the first one, you lose its charm in the second one. But the charm for the first one, I think, is often used when people describe something that in principle isn't all that great, but they want to give it a pass. So you get a lot more of a streamlined and simplified tale here, and they do a really good job of the sort of nods and the callback to the original game.
Okay.
So you get like a much stronger, feeling of the sort of trauma that Sebastian's gone through and how it's actually affected him. You don't need to have played the first game, but as with many sequels, you'll benefit from doing so, and there are some great homages paid to the original as well. But a far more stripped back story, and motivations are far more simpler. Sebastian's got a lot more dialogue. He's a lot more of a personality on screen, which is good.
So is he like talking to himself and other characters, like Nathan Drake more? Right. Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely talking a lot more and reacting to things as they happen, and there's a lot more character interaction with him and other people, because the other one was so crazy and you'd literally just fall through a floor and end up somewhere completely different. There's a lot more of a consistent world here, so you're interacting with people either through like a radio communicator or going to see them in safe houses and things like that. One thing to remember is it still is, a survival horror game, so it's never going to beat out some of the great stories that we've had in video games.
No, you expect it to be a bit hammy. That's fine. Yeah. So that's not an issue.
It's certainly serviceable. It's an upgrade, I feel like, on the first one. Does a good job of driving the action. Like I said, the voice acting is a little bit hit and miss from everyone, and that can take at the moment sometimes. But other than that, I haven't got any other complaints really with it. It is what it is.
Is it the same antagonist?
Different, no. So it's more of there's not really a sole kind of antagonist of it. They set that up quite early in the first one. This is, and I'll set up the story so you get a flavour of what it is. Essentially, Sebastian's daughter, who in the previous game they have mentioned that had gone missing and was assumed dead in a house fire. Turns out she's not been killed. She's been put into STEM, which is this, the kind of hive mind control type thing, and Mobius, who are like the umbrella corporation of the evil within, this big corporate shadowy government agency, or maybe not government. They get hold of Sebastian and say, look, your daughter's alive, but we need you to go in and get her because it's causing stuff to be unstable within the STEM sort of world, and that's why everything's fucked up in there. It's all unstable. There's stuff going on. So his motivations are simply that he wants to rescue his daughter, and there's obviously twists and turns along the way. But it's far more of an easy thing to digest than not knowing quite what's going on. They set the parameters early on, saying this is where you are, this is why you're here, and you just kind of left to go off it. And like I said, that's a very basic kind of story setup, but after the last one, I feel like they needed to do something that's a little bit more, relatable.
Absolutely. I think, to be honest, the fact that I found him quite bland and unlikable, and the fact that I didn't know what was going on really just turned me off to, all those aspects of the game. It became a real grind fest for me first time out.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of those issues are addressed here.
And another thing that was an issue for me, actually, going on to the next point here. So, presentation graphics-wise, I'm pretty sure the last one was a cross-generation game.
Yes,
it was. Didn't look great. So how's this one looking and running? What did you play it on?
Yeah, played it on the Xbox One X. So out the consoles, probably that's the best it's going to play. PC, you get 60 frames if you want it, and a much smoother experience, but you get a solid 30 off Xbox One X. In terms of the actual visuals, there is a massive upgrade here. It's actually a very nice looking game. It's remarkable how much of a change it is. In particular, it focuses more on just getting the lighting right, which sounds like a really trivial thing, but it's very important for a survival horror game. You need to have that moody atmosphere, and that's the word that I've just stumbled across there. The atmosphere works with the way it looks. So it's definitely an upgrade. It does come at a little bit of a cost though. So frame rate's generally steady, but what you will notice, particularly on the consoles, is there's a lot of pop-in of objects. So when you're walking towards something, an item on the floor, like a bush, might pop in alongside you. And also, if it does a cut to a cut scene and changes shot, there's sometimes the textures on a wall or something won't load in straight away. So that can be quite jarring. And it's a shame because it's a beautiful game otherwise. Just get the feeling they pushed the boat a bit too far, and that kind of cost some of the performance aspects. They've had a go at it at least, but there's little bits like that when you notice, you think, yeah, it's a little bit messy still. It still has that messiness from the first one.
I'm assuming there's some good-looking bosses in there as well.
Oh yeah, some excellent, enemy design. Something I might come on to later is the variety of enemies, perhaps not up to the first game, but in terms of the looks, they look fantastic. And the horrible.
One of the things that bothered me about the first game as well was the way the character. Like, I felt it was the over-the-shoulder kind of view, but I felt like he blocked a lot of the view. He was like too close to the camera.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they fixed that. That was a real annoyance to me. He was a lump as well.
Yeah, it's still right up Sebastian's arse, unfortunately. The trade-off here is that the black bars are gone.
Yeah,
so
okay.
You can see the full screen, which definitely helps. And I know in the first one, later on, they patched that out of it, so you could actually choose to have them on or off. And also, if you want to, just in the last sort of month or so, they've even made a patch to give you a first-person mode. So if you want to play it all the way through in first person, which I think would be utterly terrifying as well as difficult, then you can do that. Last thing to kind of mention actually on the performance side, I did have one hard crash early on in the game. So it just froze up and, I had to reboot my Xbox.
Yeah, it's never good.
Only once, and in a course of about 18 hours, so not too bad, but still something I always mention if that happens.
And sorry, just to confirm then, this out of the box now, you can play it third person or first person?
Yeah, there's an option there. I haven't tried the first person mode myself, so I can't tell you how well it plays, but in the last month they released a trailer for it stating that you could play the game in first person, so... that's
pretty sweet, because
that is. It's obviously taking homage from,
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've had Resi 7 that's come out all in first person, which we've yet to play. So, first person in itself, I think, makes survival horror, a lot more visceral.
Oh, mate, it's terrifying.
Yeah. So
okay.
I'm definitely going to try and give that a go before I sort of put it down for good.
I'm assuming the game plays the same in the. Is it in chapters, quite linear again, or have they done something different there?
They've shaken it up a little bit, so you still have chapters. They don't, but the game's, at the end of the first one, it'll just stop and then give you, say, your chapter cleared or something like that.
That's the end. You'd go back to that kind of hub world, wouldn't you, and upgrade and do your bits from there. I think. Yeah.
It's this time the design is that it opts for a much more kind of seamless experience rather than the game jumping from one location to the other and randomly for pretty much no reason other than just to get you into the next world. They introduced a lovely blend of linear progression, so the sort of stuff that you'd expect, going through corridors and little areas to tackle enemies or get around them. But they've also got open world elements here. So the linear parts are really good, as you'd expect, but they have these really large open environments. I say really large, they're large open environments for you to explore at your leisure, and that kind of adds an extra layer to the game, and it works perfectly with some of the newer stuff they've introduced, like the resource management mechanics. So rather than just picking up ammo like you did before, you can now craft ammo, you can craft health stuff. So just walking around and finding ammo around isn't going to sustain you. You need to sort of take the time to explore the environment, make sure you pick up components like gunpowder, which will let you craft bullets. There's side quests and points of interest that you can go and visit on the map. That will often there'll be materials there for you to get. And in many cases, when you go to these kind of side quests or these little points of interest, there usually some sort of trap there, enemies, scares, and moments where you have to work hard to get your reward. But the key thing is it's not across the board. Sometimes you do go there and there's nothing there, so it keeps you on your toes in that sense.
But that's pretty unique for a survival. I can't think of any other survival horror game that has like open world elements. In my head, I'm thinking, are we talking like The Last of Us sort of sides of those open world?
Bigger than that, mate.
Much bigger. Actual. Wow.
Like huge, not huge. You're not talking GTA 5 levels, but like a big like town, exploring a whole town.
Wow.
And being able to, there's different parts of the town, there's enemies scattered all over the place, and they've done a really great job because it's kind of open world with the enemy placement and the scripting changes of enemy behaviour makes it feel very dynamic. So you might go into a house, look for supplies, go out, Then later on, you might come back and go, actually, I'll just go back into that house. You can't remember if you've gone in there or not. Look for supplies. Then on your way out, like a random body on the floor will just slide and get dragged through a hallway door, and there's an enemy that's kind of spawned in there eating them. So you never quite know what you never quite know what you're going to get, which is great. I don't know whether it's random the way that happens, or whether they've just scripted it so well that it just feels natural, feels like it's always going to give you a surprise and keeps it interesting.
Well, at least they've done something different here. I'm actually quite keen on this. Okay, what about how does this thing control? Is he a bit of a clunker again, or is he?
Yeah, he's still clunky. I think they've improved the handling for sure. Shooting is more satisfying. You can do environmental damage now. So you know the shock bolts from the first one.
Oh yeah.
If you now fire that into a pool of water with enemies in it, it'll electrocute them, a la Bioshock.
Yeah.
Sort of, you can kick over petrol cans and shoot the gas, and enlighten people. They've introduced the sticky recover mechanic, which is a little bit hit and miss. I feel like they should have gone down the Last of Us route, where you don't stick to cover, you just sort of crouch behind it.
Yeah,
and you can freely move. And you can play it like that. Really, to be honest, you haven't got to be stuck to the cover. It's fine if you're just, you want to just sit there and hang out for a while. But if you need to move from point to point, it gets a little bit tricky. But yeah, mechanics. I think they're not as smooth and silky as something like Uncharted or anything like that. But yeah. I still think it's part of that is creators' intent not to make the game too, easy to control, because you kind of lose that visceral panic of when something goes wrong, which is where the game, comes into its own. And it takes, and I said this in the first one, I said it a couple of times with the first one. It feels, when stuff goes wrong, it feels like that panic of The Last of Us, where you've got 6 bullets, you're trying to shoot the enemies, they're all running at you, and you think, fuck me, this has gone wrong.
Which is what you want in these sort of games, right? It's exactly that kind of, it's survival horror. It's not meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be like, managing your inventory and shitting yourself because you've only got 5 bullets left, and you've got a corridor full of enemies.
Yeah, exactly. And it gives you that. And obviously you can upgrade Sebastian throughout and improve his aiming and whatnot. Green gel's back, but weapons and weapon parts formulate the upgrade path for guns and stuff. So previously it was all green gel, whereas now it's got its own kind of separate currency. So I mentioned the exploring the environment part earlier, and that's key again, because you want to pick up weapon parts so you can rank up your handgun or your sniper rifle or whatever you feel comfortable doing. But there's never enough to go around, so you've got to make those tough choices about what you do upgrade and what you don't.
And is that all done in that kind of like Hunter's World sort of hub world, or is it?
To upgrade Sebastian it is, but to do the weapons or to craft ammo, things like that. So to craft ammo, you can do that on the fly.
Okay,
handy, but it comes at a cost. Rather than costing, say, 3 gunpowder for a bullet, it'll cost 5. So if you want to do it out in the field when you're desperate, you can do, but knowing that you're losing a bit of your ammo, there's workbenches where you can actually craft them for a lower cost, essentially, and that's where you can upgrade your weapons as well. So there's a few of those scattered about, and also some in the safe houses. And then obviously you get in that little chair, and Sebastian's upgraded with the green gel in the same manner as the first.
Nice. You said it was about 20 quid. First person mode, new. Third person mode. I'm guessing there's some DLC somewhere will come in. I'm guessing you're going to say this is good value, right? Yeah,
I mean, it's a single player campaign only. So those that want multiplayer, it's not here. Never is going to be in a survival horror game,
of course.
But it's meaty and the quality is decent. And New Game Plus is something that's interesting. So you can retain all your skills and carry it over. So I'm thinking of maybe not playing through the game again necessarily, because I don't tend to do that, but maybe jump into first person mode with New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Try out some of that. And there's things like collectibles and whatnot. And if you're into that sort of thing, you can get a couple of playthroughs out of the Evil Within 2 easily. Campaign took me just about 18 hours, so pretty meaty.
It's ideal, really, isn't it? Not short, not too long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Doesn't outstay its welcome. All right then, Joe, what are your closing thoughts on The Evil Within 2?
Yeah, what I like about The Evil Within 2 is that it kind of nails what a sequel should be. It retains the good parts, so like the suffocating combat where things can go real bad, real quick, but it adds a whole new way to play and experience this game. Just having the open world environments and having the linear sections gives you a great blend, but it completely kind of changes the way you interact with the game. And with how well it melds these new kind of mechanics in with the crafting and component collecting, the Evil Within 2 kind of stands on its own 2 feet, making improvements when necessary. And it wasn't until I actually looked at the old game about how I noticed how much stuff they actually decided to shelve. Like, enemy design is a little bit more stripped back. You've still got the bosses and whatnot, but the amount of enemies that you encounter probably aren't as many as there were in the first one.
Yeah.
So you'll kind of get used to fighting similar enemies throughout the game that kind of get stronger or whatnot. You can't hide in closets or under the bed. I don't know if you remember doing that in the first opening parts of the game. You don't have to disarm traps where if you get it wrong, you would pretty much die instantly.
I was a little quick time, wasn't it? That was annoying.
Yeah, that little time would go around getting the red bit. You don't have moments where you have to mount a machine gun and mow enemies down. And you might be listening to that saying, well, hang on, all that stuff sounds great. Why is it not in there? And yeah, it was fun, but I think one of the things that most people agree on, the first one felt like a lot of ideas stirred up and crammed into one game, which made it a little bit inconsistent, and the tone would jump from all over the place. Yeah. Evil Within 2 kind of just has the confidence to back its own style of gameplay, give you an experience which is a lot more consistent and in a way more rewarding, because you'll grow with confidence and ability, and the game will compensate you for that. It's just great to see the game didn't stick to the same kind of random crazy structure and had a real go at creating something that's a little bit more consistent, whilst kind of retaining the franchise identity, I guess.
Nice one. All right then, so let's do it then. Evil Within 2, should you buy it or should you bin it?
Fucking buy it.
And let's give it an official grading.
Yeah, my official grading for the Evil Within 2 is a silver.
Fucking hell, she's gone up one level. Nice.
Yeah, upper level. Well done.
That is good. The only last thing is that, I don't know if you can even put this in, but edit, do what you want, your life. Yeah. Do you reckon people are actually going to buy this and play it? Like, because no. I'm guessing that's the first one done. I mean, it reviewed all right, like you said, and people were excited. But I feel like a lot of people maybe were disappointed. I don't know. That's just...
it felt like kind of fan reaction wasn't as high as what the critics' reaction was.
Yeah,
which then hurts the sequel regardless of how good it is, because people are like, I don't really like what they did with that. So looking at the sales, doesn't seem to have done gangbusters, Evil Within 2. Hence why the price is at £20 UK at the moment.
Which is annoying then, because like you think they've improved this substantially. Like if they get a third one out, it could be, getting to like AAA sort of levels. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No one's gonna.
I'm hoping, because it's Bethesda. Although sales are very important, I can see them, if there's a need or if there's a want from the developer to do a third or a trilogy, they would perhaps back that. Unlike a game coming from EA, you just think, right, it doesn't sell well, it's gone, isn't it? It's dead in the abyss.
But are Bethesda the same studio behind like Doom and whatnot?
Yeah, Bethesda.
But then I feel like all their games...
Dishonored.
Really I feel like all their games don't sell well, weirdly.
No, they don't. They for whatever reason, they review very well with the critics. But sales-wise, Dishonored 2, Doom... Actually, maybe not Doom. I think Doom sold well. Dishonored 2, Prey, The Evil Within 2, Wolfenstein 2...
That's it, yeah.
Really not done very well. And it's a mixture of them, perhaps... not getting the review copies out to the media early, so there's no reviews day one, so people might be like, I'll hold off on that. And two, like the Evil Within 2 was released in October, Wolfenstein 2 was released in October, and amongst all the other games like Shadow of War, which is huge, and I opted for Shadow of War over the Evil Within 2, and I regret it. I wish I'd played the Evil Within 2 much earlier. But the way they kind of structured their release schedule, I think's hurt them, and not having the word of mouth out there before release has hurt them as well, because they're not reviewing badly these games, they're actually reviewing very well, but they're just not getting the traction that they deserve. It's a shame, because there's some great games on there. One way to look at it is that a lot of the prices drop early, so you could pick these up cheaper than what you would have done.
But from like consumer point of view, it's ideal, really. But you just don't want to see them. I'm sure they're not going out of business, but they start then, you know, cutting back on what games they're making if they're
That's
losing these decent ones.
the worry. But hopefully, I'd love to see a third one. And if that's the last one, then so be it. But really happy to have played through Evil Within 2. You know, I liked the first one. This one, step up for me. And, you know, let's see what they can do with a third one. Let's have a go at it.
Mate, you've genuinely got me sniffing now. I might ask if I can borrow it. Don't trade it.
It's there is a trade limit on it, so it needs to be decided quickly.
Mate, 20 quid, you're not going to get nothing back on that. It's gone, it's dead.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
All right, well, let's just wrap this up anyway, mate.
Yep.
Good reviews, and we'll see you again soon. It's goodbye from me, Tom. I think that's wrong, isn't it? It's goodbye from you, Apps.
Yeah, it is goodbye from me. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
What are you thinking about?
Lily. Everything that's happening in here is because of her.
She's still a sweet little girl.
I hope so. She's the real victim here.
You are here for me, Dad. It's all your fault. You are a failure. Close your eyes to the truth.
You want to stop me, but you have failed.
I've got to find her before he does something terrible to her.